Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Get comfortable. Get your muffin positioned. Thank you very much for coming this morning. My name is Lynn Van Leuven. I'm the Acting Dean of Fine Arts, and it's my great, great pleasure to welcome you to this session, as well as to the University of Victoria. I know you're going to have a wonderful time here, and we hope that so far life on the edge has been good. Has it? Not too bad? Good. Open the cafes at 7? I'll see what I can do. I'd just like to say that at such occasions, we acknowledge with respect the history, customs, and culture of the Coast Salish and Strait Salish peoples on whose traditional lands our university resides. As some of you may know, this year we've been celebrating our 50th anniversary, and as I said the other day, it does get depressing when your university is younger than you are, but nonetheless, it's been a terrific year, and having the Congress here is a culmination of a terrific year. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Oliver Schmedka, who's going to introduce our very special guest. Thank you again for coming.
Good morning, everybody. It's my great pleasure to welcome you here this morning on behalf of the Center for Global Studies that co-sponsors this event. And with great pleasure and distinct honor, I would like to welcome our speaker for today, Ms. Joy Kogawa, who many of you are familiar with her, but let me very briefly introduce her by alluding to her experience, which has shaped so much of her writing. Joy Kogawa was born in Vancouver in 1935 and with her family was sent to an internment camp for Japanese prisoners, Canadians during World War II. And this experience has very much been formative for her reflection in her literary work. And most of you will know her critically acclaimed novel, Obasan, which won the 1982 Books in Canada First Novel Award. And after this book was the basis also for a story that made it into a children's book named Naomi's Road that many of you might have seen as well. After this, Joy Kogawa published many other works, including Itsuka and The Rain Ascends. And over the past years, Joy Kogawa has become a member of the Order of Canada, and in 2010, she was awarded the Order of the Rising Sun by the Japanese government. And currently, Joy Kogawa is a writer-in-resident at the University of Toronto, and we are very, very pleased that she is able to join us here this morning to give this lecture. And, she will focus in her lecture this morning on her current writing process, a story, a work in process that is entitled Gently to Nagasaki. Joy Kogawa, welcome to Victoria. We're very pleased to have you here, and please can I ask you to come up to the stage.
Thank you very much.
How completely overwhelming this is for me. Thank you so much to the people who invited me to be here, and for all of you for getting up so early to come. I arrived yesterday at 5 o'clock, and went to a banquet and talked to the Asian Canadian contingent, which John Price had organized, and John is sitting right there, much to my relief, because he is such a friendly presence. And I see various friends here, one enemy, and whom I call the devil, who is a philosopher who shreds me. The rest of you I can call friends. And so last night, I sort of explained that I don't think ahead of time as to what is going to come out of my mouth. But I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning and I thought, oh, you know, this is such a scary event. These are people who read and who think and who ponder, and it's actually really unthinkable that I'm here in this august audience because I'm not educated, because I have not even 1 year of university to my name, and I don't have a BA, and you all have PhDs, you know. PhDs are very scary to me. They know how to think. And if I read, essentially, I read life, I guess, as a person would read Braille. And what I learn, I don't really, I think, learn so much from books as I do from what enters my body in some visceral kind of way, and then I am changed by that. Although I recognize some of the things that I might have read over the years through that, and I can say, aha, that's what that is. But then, so often, you know, with self-help books or books of psychology or even spiritual books, they can sometimes not come to that aha moment. So I'm maybe going to just tell you about some of those moments, those notions that arrive that I don't have arguments for at all. They just settle in me and direct me in some kind of way. So I'll tell you about that. Now, last night, John gave me this. It's a wooden box. And in the book right now, I speak about wood and trees, and wood as a very forgiving material. It's, you can fall down on it and not always break your bones. There's something soft within its hardness that is, I think, a quality of forgiveness, a capacity for tenderness, a givingness. Wood keeps giving, and it is so precious. And trees are the life of our lungs. And so I have in my book a cherry tree that tells all kinds of stories. But in this box, there's a little space. And in this space is a stone. And this little stone is what I carry with me everywhere, and it has a word on it, which is my one word. The only thing that is required of me, the least and the most, this one word, which brings me to this moment to share my one word with you and how it has shaped my life and how it led me through the writing of Obasan, through the mysteries in it that I did not understand until now. In Obasan, there's a prologue. There is a silence that cannot speak. There is a silence that will not speak. Beneath the grass, the speaking dreams, and beneath the dreams is a sensate sea. The speech that frees comes forth from that amniotic deep. I remember when I was in Winnipeg and speaking with Carol Shields, this wonderful writer, and she advised me to take that word out, amniotic. It was too difficult a word, but I kept it. And I was advised by Judith Merrill, by the way, which is another aside. She said, if a book doesn't begin with, "She took him by the balls," it's not going to sell. I didn't take her advice either. So where was I? Oh, yes. The amniotic deep. The book that I'm writing right now begins in a way with that, with water. That's the first word in this book that I'm presently in the process of, I hope, finishing. It's been so many years. And the goddess of mercy, who came to me in a dream in Japan, is there at the beginning in the amniotic deep, in water, and rides with us through the birthing into this world and remains with us throughout our lives. So I was asked, why do I refer to this presence as goddess? And I don't know. There's so many things I don't know, except that in the dream that I had in Japan in a Buddhist temple, the words that arrived were, the goddess of mercy is the goddess of abundance, which I didn't understand at all at the time either until now. And so what I can say about this word that I haven't told you about is that because of these various experiences that come by way of dreams or notions that arrive for I know not where or I know not what, the word on this stone grows and grows within me and lives, I hope, in my life. And when I fail this word, it's okay because I've tried, and failure is so okay. And so I'll bumble on. In the last little bit of that prologue of Obasan, it goes like this. If I could follow the stream down and down to the hidden voice, would I come at last to the freeing word? I ask the night sky, but the silence is steadfast. There is no reply. But I've come to a reply. There was no reply when I wrote this over 35 years ago, but there is a reply today. There is a reply to that question and that quest and that going down into the underground stream. I want to talk about that reply, although I will have no way of defending it except that I trust it. The word on the stone is trust. I trust the process of the pen because I learn in hindsight, not foresight. I do not pre-think what I will write. And the pen writes, and then the questions remain, and then the answers come. And so I trust the process because I don't start with saying, I know, because I don't. And then when the answers come, then the trust grows, and it grows, and it grows. And I know that if the trust disappears, it hasn't gone away. It's towards me. It's not from me. It's not even within me. It just undergirds. So I can let go of the trusting as well. In fact, I can just let go. And I think that's not the freeing word that I come to at the end of the stream, which I have come to in what I am writing right now. But it is the trust that has led me there. So, in the beginning in Obasan, there is a date, which was not there when I wrote the whole book. When I wrote it, and I handed it in to various publishers who turned it down and turned it down and turned it down, it arrived on the desk of Louise Dennis at a certain point, and she didn't turn it down. But she did say to me after she'd read the manuscript, "What happened to the mother?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. Isn't life like that? People disappear. They're gone and nobody knows. Can't I just leave it that way, that we don't know? Because I don't know." And she said, "The reader has to know." So there's this mystery throughout the book. What happened to her? And so I took the book back into myself and said, all right, Louise says I have to know this, and I don't know it, so how am I going to find out? The mother was away in Japan. It was before the war. Anything could have happened. So I thought, maybe she ended up on a mountainside somewhere. Maybe she had a relationship with somebody. Maybe she couldn't leave because she had another child there. Could this be Naomi's mother? What happened to her? And I didn't know. And I don't know where it came from that she was in Nagasaki. I had no idea where that came from, but that's what it was. So she was there. And the date at the beginning of the book is the date that the bomb fell on Nagasaki. So it's there at the beginning as a clue, and it's there at the end. And the book is bookended by the prairies. So it developed its own structure without my structuring it. And so every book that I've written to this point has been without a title. And this book, Gently to Nagasaki, was nothing but a title, and there was no book with it. And it was so irritating to have this title and to have no book. I tried to make it go away, but it would not go away. And it didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. Was it a long poem? Was it an opera? What was it? And so I started and stopped and started and stopped for years. I started and stopped so many times that I drove myself quite crazy. And I said, this can't go on. So one day I said, however it starts today, it's going to stay that way. And on that day, it started as a memoir. And then I was so sorry, because anything but a memoir. A memoir has the letter I in it, and you cannot hide. In fiction, you can hide. You can tell all about yourself and nobody has to know it because these are fictional characters. In a memoir, you can't do that. And so there were these hells in my life that I had to talk about in a real way, and that was hell. And so I wanted to stop this, but I could not because I had made this promise to myself, so I kept on and kept on and kept on, and I thought, this is no good, it's a failure. But I said, okay, let it be a failure. At least I will have tried. And that's kind of my mantra till now. It's great to fail because you will know that you have tried. And that's all that's really required of your work. Success is not required. So I went along with this thing and kept writing it, and it had so many issues in it. And had so many notions. And it went from notion to notion to notion to notion. Like a leaf in the wind, without structure, without sense, without anything. And I thought, well, this book for sure is a failure. Right now, it's sitting with Louise Dennis again, and I don't know whether it's going to be accepted or not. I'll know in a couple of months, she said, so we're waiting. But last night, yesterday morning actually, before coming here, I'd found in this funny kind of way a book which was on the floor. which is one of the books I hadn't been thinking was a very useful book to have anymore. It was an old book. And in it, I discovered, it's a book about Asians in Canada. And then I discovered, because my daughter was there and wasn't ready to just toss my books away, she said, well, maybe you're in it. And lo and behold, I was. And what it was something that I had written for one of these kinds of events 35 years ago in New Brunswick, I think. And it was called Random Thoughts from a Work in Progress. It was Random Thoughts from Obasan. And there was this chapter in it that I could hardly recognize, but it was from Obasan at the time, which got rewritten since then. I was really happy to have that because it reminded me, the rewriting process. But so what I was going to say about that, I can't remember. Anyway, this is Random Thoughts from Work in Progress. Random Thoughts from Gently to Nagasaki. And it's about a journey to hell, a personal hell, a hell that's possible. I mean, it's Stephen Hawking who tells us that we've got 200 years left, and then we're gone. We're extinct. We're on the edge of extinction. And is that true? Can we take that in? Is that believable at all? Does it make sense to think that we have to go to outer space? How do we process one of the greatest scientists, if not the, telling us that? What does that do? So that's in the book. The urgency of that kind of question. And at the heart of the journey to Nagasaki that I'm going to in this book is a person who was in Nagasaki at the time that the bomb fell. And his name was Takashi Nagai. He was a nuclear physicist and a doctor, a medical doctor. And he had a rather peculiar notion of what that bomb meant. I have a very peculiar notion of what that bomb means too, which I talked about last night. Maybe I can repeat what I said, but I also said it, I think, whenever it was that I was here last for the Big Cities talk. But where am I? It's the notion that the bomb was a transformative experience for the world because of where it happened to fall on that very strange day of one mishap after another, when the bomb that left Tinian Island, destined for Kokura, did not fall there. It fell instead on the hidden Christians precisely in their neighborhood in a valley in Nagasaki. And it wiped them out after many centuries of Japan trying to wipe them out. The Christian bomb did it. It wiped out its own. And so Dr. Nagai had this strange notion that that was intended. And people, of course, would leave Christianity in droves if they thought that there was this malevolent God that would destroy his own. And that's not the message that I got out of this. It was that God was there and God was killed as God is killed daily throughout the world when we kill our own, when we destroy what is most precious to us, one another, to whom we are infinitely connected. So what is it that is destroyed? It's a destruction or an effort to destroy what is the most precious thing, as Abraham too did, was taught, was told to kill his son. What a strange notion all of that is. So for me, the commandment to love your enemy has been changed from a proscription into a description. We do love the enemy that we kill. We love that enemy as we ought to love all that is good. And so the process of writing this book is to discover the ways in which that is true, because it's a notion that I have now that stays with me. The best friend resides there in the enemy. When we kill, we have killed our child, our parent, our most beloved. That's what we kill. How do I discover this before I actually kill that person? What are the steps on the march to genocide that warn me that the tectonic plates have started to shift? How have I fingerprinted and distanced myself and made them into logs that I can chop up, as was done by the Japanese Imperial Army throughout Asia? How are we made, we who are most beloved, into the enemy? How did that happen to Japanese Canadians? Why were we singled out to be the most despised in this country? How do we become aware that this is already happening within us when we look at somebody and dislike the way they smell, the way they talk, the way they puke, and we feel revulsion towards our most dearly beloved child? And when we have killed that child by this horrible mistake of not being able to see that, how can we unmake that? How do we get a second chance? So the other notion that is with me is that we can do this. We can do this now, today, and unmake the past. And then they'll say, that's nonsense, you can't do that. I claim that we can. And we can exert our effort to the nth out of our love for what we have killed and for what we are threatening to kill in the future. The billions, we are told, that will die due to climate change. How can we attend to that? And I think we can attend to that in seeing the perspective of who we are in the universe, our little planet that we can hardly see at all, less than a speck of dust in the great cosmos. We can't see that. We're so tiny. Our tiniest thoughts are, I think, the size of the universe. Our most intimate, private wonderings that can impact the whole world and the future. And that's another notion that I have, is that every tiny, tiny, invisible little thing matters, no matter how inconsequential it is. And those are the things that I actually read. Those moments, those feelings, I read that. And so I'm on the way gently to Nagasaki, and what I told myself along the way was, it doesn't matter about this book, really. It matters to realize these notions and to have them alive in my life, and that's far more important. Because I think each of us, when we are able to demonstrate by our lives what we actually profess, then that can transform the world. But what I have to confess is that I fail. I fail these notions. And my enemies remain my enemies, although I think that that is wrong, and I think that the answer is on its way. if I keep trusting that I will feel tenderness towards them, no matter what the cost. And then I will know the presence. One of the things I'm so grateful for is to have Susan McCaslin here. She's part of my memoir group that we have in Vancouver. And when I come to Vancouver, we get together. And it was when we were together in Nanaimo at the Bethlehem Retreat Center that I had a notion. It'll sound so weird for me to, but I'll try to explain it to you. I had a habit, which I don't seem to be having so much these days, but and it's really one of those crazy things, you know, the I Ching or the tarot or whatever people do to try to shift their minds a little bit. So my thing is that I walk around with a little New Testament and I fling it open anywhere, and whatever my eye sees, and then I think, oh, what does that mean? Probably nothing at all. But this was the second last day of my stay with my sisters, and so I came to this verse, rejoice always. What does that mean? How can one possibly rejoice always? You're in the middle of a torture room and you're rejoicing all the time? Does that make any sense at all? I thought, well, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. But I'll hold to it. And I'll quit this Bible stabbing thing that I do. I'll just hold to that for a while and see what happens. And what happened was 2 months of euphoria. It was so odd. So I thought, whatever this means, this has got to be the answer to the end of the trek somehow, that you get to this place. And what is this place? There was, you know Dag Hammarskjöld? He said, for all that has been, thanks. For all that will be, yes. That's another one of those statements. How can you say that? How could he say that? And I imagine that as he was going down in the plane, he was saying, thank you. And he was also saying, yes. And I thought, that's what I want. I want to be there in that place of such confidence and such deep trust that whatever it is that is happening, there is a deep peace and a deep serenity and a deep gratitude. How do you get there? Well, my 2 months of euphoria faded, and I was back. It was sort of like being mentally ill, perhaps, I don't know. I mean, you can say it was chemical or whatever you want to say about it. But the freeing word that came to me, which is the word at the end of the prologue, it's just absent from the end of the prologue, is the word always. And I had a dream the other day of a realm of always, a realm of infinite kindness. And the notion that came to me then was that we could apply for citizenship in that realm. We could go to the passport office and we could get it stamped. And when we make application for that realm of infinite kindness, then it is accessible to us. We can hold our passport. And when we are not kind, we can make application and the kindness can arrive. That's a notion. So I have all these funny notions. And I think I have a lot more things to say, but is that enough time? It is, isn't it, right? So we can have questions, so if that's okay? All right.
Thank you so much, Madame Koala. I'm sure there are questions, and we have 3 mics at different parts of the room, just so that we can make sure everyone hears the question. Who would like to get the ball rolling? I'd like to ask about this profound sentiment that you left us with on the concept of gratitude. And how has that been a theme? You say you've sort of pondered it and discovered it on the question of rejoice, but is that a theme that you see having percolated through your work as a whole?
I think most of my life I have been anxious, and I don't know how real gratitude has been in the past. I think it's much more real now. I think in my old age, I'm going to be 78 in a few days, I think these are the best years of my life, and far better than before. And for that I am grateful. But I don't know what the journey has been up till now as far as the work is concerned. I mean, this is the book that seems to be most out there. And I'm not a very conscious person in that sense, you know, of being able to. So I don't know.
Do we have any questions from the floor for Joy? Absolutely.
Hi, Joy. Maybe not so much a question, but a follow-up on your notions there of maybe pending change, revolutionary change, even maybe from what you were saying a moment ago. And I wonder if you're familiar with the Shimabara Rebellion in Nagasaki, 1634 or 1636, in there somewhere?
I'm so deaf. That's another thing. So you'll have to tell me.
Okay, the Shimabara Rebellion in Nagasaki.
Can you tell me what you see?
Sorry,
Shimabara Rebellion. No?
I don't know. It's a kind of echo that's happening in my ears, so I'm not getting the question at all.
Not a question yet. I'm just wondering if you know the Shimabara Rebellion.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, worth looking at. On the idea of the revolution, maybe the rebellion that you were referring to, or maybe alluding to more, maybe halfway through your talk there, your disappointment with the way the world is going right now, climate change, all that. The Shimabara Rebellion had to do with the establishment of a Christian community, the remnants of which were destroyed with the Fat Man bomb. So some maybe useful background for your next book. Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, I should take my hearing aid out, I think.
You'll have to speak into the mic clearly.
Okay, is that clear?
Let's see. I'll see if it's better if I take my hearing aid out.
Okay.
Maybe you can repeat it to me.
I'll try, yeah.
All right.
I just wanted to thank you for the beauty of what you've offered us in your comments today. I'm very moved by it. My question is, when you talk about going to the passport office or belonging in this realm of kindness, that seems a very lofty aspiration to me. I'm wondering if you have any advice for those of us who'd like to visit there more frequently.
What was the last part?
To open what, sorry? At the end?
I was just wondering if you had advice for those of us who'd like to visit there more frequently.
Oh, advice, okay.
Well, the funny thing about notions is, here is this crazy hearing aid. Advice as to how to find the passport office, more or less. Where is it? It's right here. It's in this room. You know, it's, what is geography, actually? Where are we? I question all that. It was kind of a dream, you know, the place. And I had a notion, again, about the density of matter and being free from that, and geography is a little bit like that. So I would say it's in it's in you. The passport office is within, and you can go there anytime, and you can knock on the door. If it's closed, you can ask why, and you can really talk, to the agents that are there and ask them, why are you closed? I need you. And so I would say, if you begin, what I did in 1964 when I first started to write, I would just wake up in the morning with something written on a piece of paper that happened to be written during the night, and I didn't know. So I think, and a lot of things come that way. There's this underground stream, I think, and I think we're all there. And the journey can be to that spot where we all are, where all the answers are as well. And it's in another realm that we don't normally access. So at the point where I was looking for answers, especially to the problem of evil, which was a big question in my life at the time, I knew that I wasn't going to find the answers except beyond what I'd been taught. And I thought I would have access through the dream world, I would have access in this kind of way. So I had a piece of paper and a pencil there, and I told myself to wake up if something was important that was coming through, it's channeling, and then I would just find that I could do that. So it's a practice, just to talk to whatever it is that you want answers from. Go there, and with paper and pencil if that helps, or recording machine or anything, just to seek, especially that agent that isn't answering the phone for you. That's a very troublesome thing. So,
Is this the way many writers write, or no? Or is this something? So, in your conversations with other writers, have you come across other people who write in this way, who let their subconscious, in
I
effect?
should ask Susan. How do you do it, Susan? Why don't you come tell us? I don't know how we all do things. I think, yeah. Actually, I've never asked another writer that. How do you write? When people ask me, how do I write? I don't know. Mm-hmm. My answer to a lot of things is I don't know.
Yeah. Good answer.
Yes, my question is related to philosophy or religion, because you mentioned the goddess of mercy. You also mentioned God, which is, to me, one is the male god, one is the female. And it seems that you have underlying your poetics a certain kind of philosophy behind it.
I should come down. I can't hear at all. Oh, well, can you tell me?
So he's asking you about your writing as it relates to philosophy and religion.
Oh.
Because you did mention the goddess of mercy, which is an Asian goddess. You mentioned God,
No,
Western male God, that is, to me, representative of Christianity. You also mentioned the rather accidental bombing of all the Christians. So I'm trying to see how you structure your fiction along those lines of philosophy and religious thinking. Can you hear me?
I can't hear a word, so I have to ask you.
Is it the echo?
Maybe the person should come right up here.
Because I can't hear that well either from here. So how Joy structures her writing between philosophy and religion?
Yes, and especially in relation to the idea of a Western God and the idea of an Asian goddess of mercy.
So from Western to Asian.
Oh. How I bridge those, or how I access those? I think that I was taught, the top of the iceberg is what I feel has been taught. The rest of it is below the iceberg.
and it directs the flow. So I think in a way what I was taught was all these myths and stories that come out of the Judeo-Christian tradition. And they form a certain kind of a grid, all those wonderful stories. But below the iceberg was the Asianness of my parents and their heritage and Buddhism and so on. So what they lived by is more the thing that directs the flow. But I am interested in the human struggle for meaning and its many forms that it has taken. And so I think that we all glean in our own ways from our world, from our environment, from our experiences, the ways that we structure our meanings for our own lives. And so mine, I think, is a peculiar mix of the East and the West. And I don't find contradictions there because my mind is bent towards looking for what is similar, I think, rather than, it's not a critical kind of mind, so I don't look for differences as people need to do. And I think, we do. We learn A is different from B, and otherwise we wouldn't be able to read, and so we need all of this, but I'm more inclined the other way. Maybe they're both the same thing, I don't know. So what I do with the things of life that come my way, that come as conundrums, is I think the thing that most pushes me along in life is suffering. And I think that humans have struggled with that. And it becomes a religion in some kind of way, the way we formulate how that will be, and it becomes imposed on people. I'm not sure that I'm answering your question because I didn't hear it.
Yes, indeed. I think you answered very well, even though you don't think that you are a very critically minded person. So,
I really wish you'd come up here because I can't hear you.
the next question is that I know that
Well, come on up even further if you wouldn't mind.
I noticed that you wrote haiku, which is to me in terms of poetics, short, very crisp, and simple but not symbolistic way of expressing. And also you write novels, which seem to be the opposite of the free form. And in your Obasan, you basically intersperse the short one and a longer piece, the short one and a longer piece. So there's either dynamics or dialectics between the two, the interplaying. So to me, it's largely a difference between poetic language and what we call more prosaic language.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you try to reconcile that urges or impulses to write very crisply and briefly, and to write rather lengthily and in elaboration?
I think the difference is between a spark, ping, poem, fast, feeling, pong, and a swamp fire, which is a slow burning, warm thing that endures. I think we have both of these things around us. Our world is filled with that. And I think every moment has its emotional aspect and its structural thing, whatever a novel is. But see, the thing is, I don't really think how these are reconciled because I don't think they're in opposition in any way. I think it's just a part of the breath that we take. A breath is very short, but we breathe for a long time. And I think there's no difference except unless we want to think about that.
Very great answer. In a way, to me, your mind is both poetic and philosophical. You seem to be able to unify what most people, at least in my term, to be accepting things. Your mind seems to be more unifying them and filling them
Oh, next questioner, please come right here.
In fact, we're going to have quite a bit of time after we leave this room because Madame Kogawa will be signing books.
Okay.
And that way your questions will be very pointed and personal as well for her.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm so relieved that we're almost done.
We have a little gift for you, so I'm going to ask Lynn to come up and give it to you.
Joy, it does seem rather strange to give an author like you a book, but I'm going to give you this book, and I think
you.
you'll like the title, Reaching
Outwards and upwards, yes.
Thank you very much
you.
for speaking to us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joy. That was a very joyful message, I thought. Even though your writing is about suffering and being on the edge, that was a very hopeful message that we're left with. I'd like to thank our co-sponsors for the event, the Center for Global Studies, as well as the partner for all of our Big Thinking events, the Canada Foundation for Innovation, the Association of Universities and Colleges of Canada, and to the University of Victoria for providing the simultaneous translation. On behalf of the Federation for the Social Sciences and Humanities, thank you very much for attending this lecture. All of our Big Thinking events are being videotaped, and so you'll be able to access them on our website. As I mentioned, Joy is staying afterwards to be able to sign books in the lobby, and obviously to answer your questions at that time as well. Hope we'll see you again at our Big Thinking lectures tomorrow with Doug Sanders and Daniel Weinstock. Merci beaucoup. Bon congrès.